All right. So, welcome to segment 2 for today. No Heathen Dog today, but there's still Palladium. That's right. So, I have some comments out there with regard to Palladium Books, some community posts, or whatever YouTube's calling them now, the community tab, community posts, where once a week I ask a question. And the reason I asked this question is because I was doing some searching on forums and websites and videos just to get lay of the land about some Palladium commentary, looking up some things. And there are two things I continually came across. Palladium has cumbersome rules, and Palladium has dated game mechanics. Well, not just game mechanics, but Palladium shows its age, it's antiquated, it's dated, it has cumbersome rules, dated and cumbersome and dated, yada, yada, yada. So I put the question out there, okay. Well, if it's so cumbersome and dated, what's cumbersome and dated? Do tell what's cumbersome and dated. And in this video, we are going to look at what people responded, and then my responses to them is what I'm going to do here. So let's put that. It's not really an overview, but I'm going to put that on the screen now. I just realized that I don't need that. Where is the cumbersome? There's the cumbersome one. I have become. Okay, let's zoom in here. Can I get crap off the screen? Hopefully you guys can read this. What? Yeah, it's not on the screen. I know. That was the wrong button. Present. Share screen. Boop. And share. Okay. So here's the first one. So I asked this. By the way, this video in no way, shape, or form, because you guys know that we have Kevin and Sean on the show on occasion, and you know we're fans of Palladium Books. We're shills for Palladium Books. Kevin and Sean did not ask us to do this. In fact, by the time I'm done with this video, Kevin and Sean are going to regret every minute of me doing this. In fact, if Kevin and Sean decide to watch, I suggest that they don't, because I'm probably going to use language that you might not approve of. Where's my note card? Yeah, whatever. So anyway, I asked for this first one. It's going to be on the cumbersome side. Which riffs? Shills do not pay for rifters. I did pay for rifters. That is true. Well, shills also don't tell Kevin and Sean. It wasn't me that did it, but I still get accused of it. That's fine. That your game is garbage. Okay. or whatever it was. I forget what he said. But the thing is Kevin and Sean comport themselves very well. They take the heat when we do say, okay, we think this is dumb. We don't like this. They know that there are certain books and whatever. One, they'll use it against us. In very fun ways. And two, they also understand that people have differing opinions. I go off on New West, right? Like, I do not like the tropes of New West. I just don't like them. Other people love it. In fact, we get more hate about that than anything else, right? People are like, how can you not like New West? It's like, I don't like it. It's clown shoes, okay? It is. End up selling more books off of that, which is fine with me. Just because I don't like it, you do. So buy it, enjoy it, have fun with it, So, all right. So anyway, so which riffs or any Palladium book setting rules do you find cumbersome? Now, this is the important part. Rules do you find cumbersome? And I'd say like 50% of the people, there are new posts on here I have not read yet, so maybe this percentage is better now. Didn't even answer the question I asked. Which rules do you find cumbersome? I didn't ask the question you wanted me to ask. I didn't ask some random question out there. I asked, which rules do you find cumbersome? How are these rules cumbersome? Because if you're going to complain about something, you have to state how. Otherwise, you're a moron. You're just somebody screaming at clouds like, I angered on the internet. And what would you do to make those rules easier or more efficient? So when I was in Airman Leadership School, and I was in the Air Force, we had a retired Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force. Dude's probably passed by now, but who came in, he said, there are two types of people. There are those who whine and those who bitch. And he's like, you know what? I will work for somebody who bitches, but I cannot stand people who whine. Because people who whine just sit in the corner like, this is dumb, blah, 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 I don't like it. People who bitch are out there complaining about it, like, this is stupid, we shouldn't be doing this way, and proposing better ways of doing things and showing how it's wrong. So if you posted a comment on here saying, I don't like thing, and didn't say how or why that thing is cumbersome, you're a failure at life. If you didn't post on there what you do to make those more efficient, less cumbersome, maybe you're not a game designer, but if throw out at least an idea as to what would make them less cumbersome, again, you're a failure at life. Continue your internet activity, because real life is going to confuse you. And I would say that is most of the comments that we got. All right. So I'm going to do, can I do oldest first? I can only do top and newest first, because I already see that Nagahide is responding to Law Dog. And I think he has a long one. Is it on this one or the other one? Well, I'm just going to go in order here. So I guess we'll zoom in a little more. Hopefully you guys can read that. All right, so Nagahide says, I do agree in part with Law Dog when he says that the attack action rules need some work. I want to add onto this, though, and include movement rules. Basically, the combat phase, each round needs a bit more clarity. The action attack movement dichotomy of combat for a character on his turn. I never use they in the singular. I will not accept it. And it is bad English, and I would... Never mind, I'm not going to say it. I can prove it and I can cite it. Anyway, what I do to change it, and what I've done is the following. You can move 10 feet for every 1 point of speed your character has on his turn, if not in a vehicle, robot, power armor, etc. Also, any action that interacts with a combatant, other character, terrain, or set piece uses an attack action. Plus, recently I had to make a ruling on Don Doff armor. Not sure what Palladium Fantasy says about it. If I remember correctly, Palladium Fantasy rules are ridiculous. Like, you can just slide in and out of your armor pretty much. If I remember correctly, I might be wrong about that. I probably shouldn't say that. I might be thinking of another game. I decided that if you want to Don or Doff, it has to start at the beginning of your round and uses 4 attacks, which are also actions. Right. Okay. And if you decide to dodge, parry, or attack someone during your attempt to Don or Doff, you stop the process altogether and have to begin anew the next round. So, of course, apply to OCCs, RCCs without auto parry dodge. Okay, I see where he's going with this, which is why I also made the change the action in my game. And players that want to try and shoot at the enemy while taking his armor off, sorry, not going to happen. Oh, well, okay, while the player characters are trying to take off their armor, like, well, the enemy's taking off his armor, why not? Okay, so. All right. I would say right here, all of this is fine. This is what you want to do in your game. This is okay. I have no issues with this. Now, what I lack here, and there might be another post later, I don't know, but what I lack is, what is cumbersome? Basically, combat phase, each turn needs a bit more clarity. Action, attack, movement, dichotomy of combat for a character on his turn. It does not. Does not need more clarity. Movement is how much you can move an entire round. As I showed in the how-to of close combat, the person who has more actions per round, if you simply say, okay, let's just say I can move 100 feet per action. I'm sorry, not 100 feet. I'm making up numbers for the simple math. I'm just doing this for the purpose of simple math, not that this is in the book. I can move 100 feet per round. All right? And I've got 5 actions. Now, some people say, okay, that means you can move 20 feet per action. And yes, in Palladium, especially in the older books, action and an attack are used synonymously. They're the same thing. You have 5 actions, you have 5 attacks. It's the same thing. Is that a bit cumbersome or unclear itself? I could see the argument made that, hey, is an attack and action the same thing? What's going on here? Although the game heavily infers what it's supposed to be. I would accept that. I would accept, hey, unify the language. As a technical writer, absolutely, I would say that. But what about movement? Why? It doesn't tell me how far I can move. And now if I have 5 actions and I move 100 feet, that means I move 20 feet per action. But you've got 90-foot movement and only 3 actions. You're moving 30 feet per action. You're actually moving faster than me up until I get 2 other actions at the end. What the hell? So if we're both racing to something that's 30 feet away, you get there before me because it takes an action? That's dumb. I'm fast. I'm literally faster than you. It's only at the end of 15 seconds, a melee round, that I get the bonus and my true speed shows up. Okay, so that makes the idea of using actions equal movement dumb. Now, I'm not saying that's what he did. I'm not. He didn't do that. It says on the screen here, you move 10 feet for every 1 point of speed the character has on his turn. How you rule it at your table is your business. Palladium is cinematic and is a framework. Framework is my term. I don't know if Kevin and Sean would agree with that, but it's my term. It provides you enough information to run the game at your table how you want without diving into Pathfinder-style minutia. It's actually a benefit of the game. And what's the benefit? You see it on the screen right there. He came up with a ruling that works for him and his group. If you're paging the book, how far can I move? It tells you how far you can move in a round. Does it cost an action? Do you think it should cost an action? You're the game master. Here's how I run it. Up to half of your movement does not cost an action. Half your movement or more costs an action. You can move, and I do this for the sake of simplicity. I'm not trying to run a simulation here. You can run your entire movement rate at one time. The thing is, though, is once you've moved, so let's just say it's at 100 feet, right? You can move 100 feet right off the bat as your first action of the round. You're just not moving anymore. But I have 7 actions. I'm a Rifts character. I have 7 actions, right? You're just not moving anymore. And if it costs it is over half your movement rate, then it costs an action. If not, yeah, when you move 50 feet, you can punch somebody. I will let you, if your movement rate is 100 feet and you move 50, I will let you punch somebody all as one action. Boom. Once you move the rest of that 100 feet, that's going to take up your other action. That's how I run it. Is it a simulation? No. Is it perfect? No. The point is I don't feel that there needs to be a specific move case rule. You as a game master need to take charge of your game a little bit more. Heathen Dog runs actions differently than me. And we can get into specific actions, especially when it comes to actions that take up 2 attacks. A power punch, a power kick, a leap kick, whatever. That take multiple attacks and actions. We run it differently. That is okay. If you're flipping through the book, it's supposed to do this thing, you're playing it wrong. It provides you the framework to say, if I'm going to power punch, it is going to take 2 actions. And there are 3 generic ways of running that. Generic way 1 is the way I do it. You have 5 actions per round. You do a power punch. I think a power punch even has to be the first action of the round, if I remember correctly. I forget the nuanced rules with it. And you can only do 1 per round. Okay. Boom. Now you're down to 3 actions. When the turn comes back to you, some people call it a phase, comes back to you, can you act again? Yes. I don't care. Just when you're out of actions, let me know. Now you're done. And that took up 2 of them. Now, another way of doing it is the warm-up. And then I'll read the super chat. The warm-up is, it takes 2 actions. So you're doing the, I'm gonna punch you. I'm joking, but it's a warm-up. It's maybe some concentration. It's some really heavy focus. It's whatever. It's that super heroic wind up and punch. Okay. And then there's a third option. This is the Heathen Dog one, if I remember correctly. It's the cool down. You take your action, but since there's a power punch that takes up 2 actions, the next time it comes around to you, you're still recovering from that one. So, how do you do it at your table? That's your business. Doesn't matter. Just know it takes up 2 actions. What works best for your table? Stop stressing over that. No, it needs to be clear. No, it does not. It is already clear. It takes up 2 actions. You have 5 actions per round. How is that handled? As long as you're consistent with your table, as long as you're consistent with your group, the NPCs and PCs have the same rule. This is a framework for you to build upon. It's not an encyclopedia rule book, like a shelves worth of law books here. Okay. By the way, I'm not busting Nagahide's balls. In fact, I'm showing Nagahide has a system for how things happen. That's awesome. He has a system for making it work. If it works for his table, go with it. Boom, what's this super chat say? I fixed a movement problem by fiat. Every character gets exactly 4 movement actions per melee round. That's it. That way, no one with lower speed is moving faster than the character with high. Okay. Another way to handle it. And thank you for the $10, Law Dog. Oh, it's absolutely another way to handle it. All these options are out there for you to do. You are the game master. Stand up. Do your damn job. Game master. By the way, this is relatively a good comment. I mean, again, this stuff down here, give me the example, is pretty good. In terms of whether I agree with it or not is a different story. But, okay. I think he got to this, though, after I complained. Maybe not. Another $5 here. Thank you very much for another $5. Also, with that movement above, each move costs you 1 action. That's fair. That's a fair way of doing it. If you want to say that that moving is an action, there is nothing wrong with that. I don't, because I want to let the characters do some things during that, but I'm not against it. Also, what if 2 people are racing? Let's use that 190-foot scenario again, right? Let's just say that the characters don't care about anything except for getting to the end. I got to get to the end. I got to push the button. He's going to push the green button to save us, and I'm going to push the red button that blows us all up. And we're trying to get there. Well, I've got 100-foot speed. I'm faster than him. I'm going to get there first, right? Unless he trips me or some crap like that. Does that take up all my actions? Maybe sometimes. Actually, I'm not going to say maybe. There are times I'd be like, okay, that took up all your actions for the round. What? I thought I had 6 actions. Right, but you were focused on getting to the button. And that took up all your actions for them. But you're going to get there and you're going to slap the button first because you're faster. Now, while you're running, if that person wants to slow down for a second, take an action to trip you, that's just going to guarantee you get there first. Okay, we'll say it's 90 feet away because he could only move 90 feet around. That's just going to guarantee that the person who runs 100 feet gets there first. But I'm not going to stop it from trying to trip you and you from making your dodge roll. Oh, wait, that's an action. Yeah, fine. But by the time you get to the end to push that button, you will have used all your reactions. Now, if you're just moving in combat, I want to get from here to across the street. Does that cost an action? In most cases, no. For me, for my games. It might for yours. I'm just doing it for the purpose of simplicity, not for the purpose of simulation. I would not be mad if I played at a table where somebody said, okay, that's going to be one of your actions. Okay. Next round, I'll do my next thing. Or when I get to that exact spot, if I can at least do something while I get there, because I think people can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think you can walk up to a position and punch at the same time, or take a wild shot, because remember, Palladium has wild shot rules at the same time. You can do that. Would it be an aim shot? Probably not. Called shot? Definitely not. But I'm going to be flexible and say, and I'm going to make a ruling. And my rulings, yeah, it are provided by the framework of the game. Okay, I hear Palladium has a lot of rules that sound weird at first, but when you read them, you start to understand the logic. John TG of the Guild told me about the cyborg class and how different body parts are considered objects. Yeah. I see the logic because the class is half machine. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about the cyborg is, and this would be a cumbersome rule, and I nix it from my game, is you can have a strength of 20 in this arm and a strength of 24 in this arm, and I don't want to deal with that nonsense. When you get your arms and legs, I state that they have to be the same. They have to be the same strength. I mean, it makes for some great fluff, But no, I'm not going to deal with that. All right, let's move on to the next comment here. Law Dog, who just super chatted a couple times, thank you very much, says, I would like to see standardized vocabulary in the books. An attack should mean a specific thing everywhere it's used. An action should mean a specific thing everywhere it's used. Yeah, okay. I generally agree with that. Again, the technical writer in me says, yes, do that. I'm trying to think of if it's necessary because they are used synonymously. What might be interesting is have an attack be anytime you roll a d20 and have an action anytime you roll a percentile for skill check. That might be a cool way of doing it. Now, for the sake of disclosure here, I kind of do know how Palladium's handling this in the future. I'm not going to say it here, even though I think it is public, but just in case it's not. And it is simplified, and it does make more sense. I'll just put it that way. I think people are going to be happy with it. So this issue that Law Dog has right here, I think is cured. Right. So Law Dog, that's actually why I'm saying it. Well, have an action be. I'm just saying using standardized vocabulary. Have an attack be the d20 roll. Have an action be the percentile roll. I agree with you 100%. In fact, I think I was talking about this on Friday. Where is it? Boom. Well, we'll get to the. Let me save this until we get to the comments later. This will be about the people who don't like the d20 and the percentile rolls. Okay. So my question was specifically on which ones are cumbersome. I might do another one on which ones are silly. No. What's my fourth question? Because the third one popped today. Well, anyway, I could do one on which ones are silly. Which ones are contradictory? Because I got a bunch of comments saying, "Oh, the contradictory rules." Where? Oops, I don't disagree with you that some. I think every RPG has rules that are silly. Because they're not perfect simulations of the world. And I'm sure, actually, I'm not sure. I know Palladium has some silly rules. Simultaneous attack is one that I think is silly. But I'll probably ask it. I think I'll make a post for that as well. No, Palladium is not changing the system. It's just a focus on terminology. It's the system staying the same. It's just a focus on terminology. I can't remember if Sean spilled the beans as to what it is, so I don't want to say it. But so what you see on the screen right here, the standardized vocabulary, well, yes. I know standardized vocabulary is a rule, but most cumbersome feature I find with Palladium. Vocabulary isn't standard across the rules. I'm not talking about the different settings. I'm talking about actual rules inside each book. Like the combat rules in any particular book will interchangeably use action for attack. I get it. I never had a problem with that, but I get it. And it's probably because I was taught to play by Palladium by somebody who knew how to play Palladium. And then we played it back. Again, I've been playing since Robotech and TMNT. So it's never been an issue for me, but I can see that as being an issue for somebody new. I don't know if it's worthy of a forum post to complain that Palladium is like the worst thing ever. Law Dog didn't do that. I'm just saying the generic Palladium posts that I've been seeing on forums and videos I've been seeing about how horrible Palladium system is and so forth. But yeah, I would say that not having standardized terminology. Again, remember I have a background in technical writing. I'm so anal about words that are used. Yeah, I get it. It's funny. Is Heathen Dog's even more anal about them because I do realize that some words have colloquial use as well. Wow, another $5 from Law Dog. Let's see what this says. The broader point I was making was non-standard vocab injects cumbersome into a lot of other rules. I wasn't very clear when I wrote the comment. No, I took that. Actually, I think I took that from what you were saying. Thank you for the $5 again. Because again, I agree. I mean, with as much as we harp on using the right word for the job, yeah, I really do wish that Palladium would separate more. This is going to anger some people. The idea of the combat actions or the combat attacks, whatever, and skill use. And I know that there are exceptions to this rule. I gotta hold on to this comment until we get to the people who complain about the die system. I gotta hold on to it. People who watch Friday know what I'm going to say, but the members only. We went over some of these in the members only. Interchange use action for simultaneous attack for attacking at the same time. This means parsing the rules extremely cumbersome. Parsing, I can agree with this. This is also okay. Yeah. Yes. You really have to dig down to figure out what each word means in the instance used, which causes multiple rules to become cumbersome. I also think that people overthink this stuff and forget that the game's cinematic. I know you want to get it right, and there's nothing wrong with that, but this isn't an encyclopedic board game. As long as you're consistent or it makes sense at the time, it doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, I know Logdog understands that. I'm talking for the folks out there in general. Wow, a lot of comments going on there. I hope to read most of them, but I don't have somebody that's able to star them today. Palladium's adopting the World of Darkness diceless system. I hope not. Okay. Robert Dobbs here says the most cumbersome thing about Rifts is finding a specific ruling. Okay. That was a comment that angered me at first, but I had to backtrack on that and realize that, okay, you know what? He's making sense. It angered me because I was looking for the rules you find cumbersome. But he's right. I mean, it took me forever to find saving throws. I have that page marked in my book now. But yeah, sometimes finding certain things, I know some people complain about armor rules are in the archery section of Palladium Fantasy or something like that. Yeah, some things aren't necessarily where they should be. Also, what I would say, and this is to Palladium Books, this is also based on, I made this comment in just the last video that we did on Twilight 2000. There's nothing wrong with having the same thing in a book multiple times. Oh, I found this information under archery and under this, as long as it fits. Then I don't have to look at two sections like, oh, well, I didn't find it under this part of the book. Maybe I'll find it on this other part of the book. Just have it twice. Oh, I'm going to kill more trees doing that. Well, you know what? Again, as a technical writer, we do things like that for the purposes of clarity. Or we throw in a lot of page numbers and say, see page 15 for more information on, whatever. And that's something I do think that a lot of the Palladium books miss out on. All right, Levi Rivers says consolidation of the rules. If you understand Palladium system, any individual book is readable, but duplicate rules hurt the page count by repeated OCCs, RCCs, spells, magic, psionic items. I think I asked him for an example of that. We'll find out in a moment. The core world book should contain all this information, while the supplementary regional book should contain all the flavor, taste, sights, and smells of the world area. Really like Palladium, but it's difficult to find specific information unless you own all the books and know where to look. Mega damage is a fun idea for a system, but really hurts when your SDC squishy. Okay. We enjoyed reading of the books. Please continue. Oh, we're Palladium fans. This type of comment I'm looking for. Okay, so here's the one idea, because he was the first one at the time that actually gave me some meat to chew on here. So, all right, let's look at this. I agree and disagree with what he's saying. This comes into the whole splat bloat, right, of the world books and the scope creep that a lot of people think, or power creep that a lot of people think exists, and they might be right. I think there's an underlying thing here, and I'm making an assumption for what Levi Rivers said, and if he didn't say this, well, I know somebody else did, so maybe I'm commenting to somebody else. And I'll read the super chat and a couple of comments in a moment here. Is that you don't have to use everything out there. Like, oh, there's 5 new skills in this book. If you want to incorporate them, do it. If not, the core skills give you enough. I haven't found a circumstance with Palladium where a source book countermanded something that I was doing in the past, or how I run my game. Now, there are some things I picked up on, like, oh, I really like that idea, but nothing that said, oh crap, I have to treat this differently. Whether it's power creep, whether it's new skills. New skills tend to be the biggest ones. Sometimes new items. I just don't put the item in the game. No, you can't have that item. Or yes, you can have that item. Just means I'll make more powerful stuff to use against you. Remember, I do mostly after the bomb for the games that I ran. incorporating some Rifts ideas in there is great, especially with the Empire of Humanity. I make them more like the Coalition because I think the Empire of Humanity, as written, are but cartoon characters. No, I make them evil like the Coalition. So doing some of the things that maybe the Coalition would do, and why not have a Rift or two pop in, or a Demon Summon, or something like that that you can bring in from Rifts without using mega damage, you know? So I don't know. I don't know about duplicate rules. Duplicate rules to me are a good thing, depending on what he means by it. I don't care about increased page count. I like information, so that's me. Now, repeated OCCs, RCCs, I don't have enough Rifts information or Palladium Fantasy information to really make a judgment call on that. In fact, I'm so surprised that nobody complained about the education system from Heroes Unlimited, because out on the forums, there are a lot of people. I love the education system from Heroes Unlimited and TMNT. I like it better than OCCs. I'm not saying it is better. My tastes, I like it better. I also like OCCs, so, you know, it is what it is. I don't understand this duplication thing because I haven't run across it, but that's me, and I'm not a Rifts guy, so I'm not saying he's wrong. As far as the core rule book containing all this information, well, I think that's what Rifts Ultimate was supposed to do. I don't know. I'll say I agree with the sentiment. I just don't know if it's necessary. Sentimentally, I agree with him. I just don't know if it's a necessity. I would like to see something like what Law Dog said he's working on, a Palladium Primer. I hope Law Dog's Palladium Primer is freaking amazing, and he can convince Sean, Kevin, maybe Francois, somebody to actually pick it up, if not as a legit product, but as like a Rifter product, something like that. If it works the way it's intended and really can pull people in, because I don't think that any of these games are as cumbersome. Now, mega damage and SDC, I've never understood this. It could be because I started with Robotech, but I've never understood the issues with mega damage and SDC. My only issue with mega damage and SDC is that Rifts talks like a lot of SDC is out there, but every time you play it, it's all MDC. So I would like to see a better balance with that as people present it, which is one of the things I want to talk to Kevin about and Kevin and Sean about in the future. All right, let's hit some of these comments up here. You guys are commenting. I cannot read all these comments. I am sorry. But since I'm by myself, if you want cumbersome, sit down and work your way through paired weapon. Oh, I know. Oh, you're right. You don't even have to say any more than that. Weapon proficiency, paired weapons, and simultaneous attacks with paired weapons. The mess until you sit down and actually figure it out. My character in the Palladium Fantasy game that Bear is running is no longer, unfortunately, Palladium Fantasy. He's moving it to basic role, the Chaosium system. Yes. Trying to figure out, especially since he changed how actions worked, trying to figure, okay, wait. So I get auto parry, but I already had auto parry because parry is an automatic. So what does it mean now that I get to auto parry? Like because I have paired weapons, like how does that relate? Yeah, trying to figure that out. I do think that I don't think the combat system needs an overhaul. I think the action-reaction system of the combat system works wonderfully. What needs clarity is the entire combat system needs, kind of like what this guy was saying and what Law Dog's talking about with the primer, it needs to be rewritten, taking all of these things into consideration, but using individual terms for individual actions. We already know parry doesn't take an action unless you have no hand-to-hand combat, if I remember correctly. Yeah, if you don't have a hand-to-hand, then it does. So it's already an automatic parry. So what does paired weapon give me that I didn't already have about the actions thing? So I know some people say, well, I say that you can only parry so many times, and then after that it costs an action. I've actually tried that rule, and it doesn't work as well as you think. It seems like it works, but I do think that the combat system for Palladium works as intended. It just needs specific clarity. If there's one place in the book that a framework isn't as good as encyclopedic clarity, is when you talk about locks and holds, when you talk about paired weapons, when you talk about these things that are supposed to give you something special, but it doesn't seem like it really does give you something special. Even if it's write it up the same way, just provide some examples. I mean, that's one of the things that Twilight 2000 or Free League does really well. It just provides examples of the rule in use. That might be all it needs. Okay, I got another super chat on here. Law Dog says for $4.99, thank you very much. 30 plus viewers and less than 20 likes. Rookie numbers, guys. Yes, please like, subscribe. This is going to be a longer segment. I'm going to go through all of these comments. I might be here until 5, 6 o'clock at night. Luckily, I don't work this upcoming week. Tomorrow's a holiday, so. I ran an SDC focused Rifts campaign, made magic users terrifying instead of laughable. Okay, cool. I have zero issues with MDC. I think it makes perfect sense. I really do. My issue comes in is like everywhere you run across has MDC, and we talked about on Friday night. I'm not going to get into it again. You know, that's one of the secrets of the members only live stream. If you become a member, it's still up there. If you were a member, you missed it, you can watch it now. But I'd like to ask Kevin and Sean about that. And it's not just for my edification, because I'd like to think I'm a smart enough game master to make it work. I know how to sprinkle in MDC, make it meaningful, and how you as your Borg or your Glitter Boy or your Burster that can do MDC damage or whatever can be contained to some degree, even in an SDC prevalent world, where MDC is supernatural or hardcore military stuff. I can do that. But when you hear people talk about it, when you hear people talk about, or look over Rifts games and adventures, it's like MDC, everything's MDC. That's the point of having a shotgun. So I'd like to have Kevin talk about how his brain was working at that point when he described Rifts as being heavily SDC, but how playing Rifts becomes heavily MDC. Because obviously he had a vision for it, right? And everybody loves Rifts. Hell, I'm not a Rifts guy because I think it's too much. It's the term I use is clown shoes. I don't mean that as hatred. I just mean as like it's too weird, man. It's too weird for me. But even I love the work that's gone into the Rifts lore and what the Rifts world itself. Yeah. So up another super chat. Oh no, it wasn't. Yep, there's another super chat. Law Dog's just throwing all types of money at me today. Thank you, Law Dog. Once you understand that a defense like parry takes place on your opponent's turn and not your turn, paired weapons and simultaneous attack become way clear. I'm just going to say off the cuff, that's not clear to me right now, but I'll go back and read it. And yeah, okay. Because I know that parry doesn't take place on my turn. So how is it a free whatever? Okay. sorry gaming with ADHD, got a lot of stuff. So paired weapons lets you parry strike on your opponent's turn. Oh, okay. I did not read that. Okay, if this is a true story, I haven't read this. So paired weapons lets you parry and strike on your opponent's turn. If it's worded that way, I never picked up on that, and I feel stupid. If it's not worded that way, well, then that clarity is exactly what's needed in the book. Okay, perfect. Got it. Okay. And then he follows it up. We'll move on to the next comment after this. Parry strike on your opponent's turn, then it's your turn. Striking. Remember, I'm only covering the cumbersome ones now. There's a whole other video that's going to be undated. On the rules that people think are dated. Compare and strike at the same time. That's fair enough. That I get it, but I never put together that the attack aspect of it was. I mean, it makes when you say it the way you're saying, it makes perfect sense. When I'm visualizing, I didn't visualize it that way. But okay, you know what? I can't argue with that logic. All right, let's move on. All right, think it through says, pick and choose what is agreeable for your campaigns and the players that are happy with them. It's easy to manipulate the rules to satisfy your group. Great comment, but not the question I asked. Let's move on. Rifts, cumbersome, you spelled awesome wrong. Super Benny, I think you're even watching right now. Again, great comment, not the question I asked. Moving on. Timothy Ferrelli. Nodding says, we talked about this one on Friday. We actually dove into this one on Friday, and I have a little write-up for this. Multiclassing, it's non-existent, and when it's done, the entire character is so wrecked that he's going through an identity crisis. All right, so I'm just going to be upfront with you. I get the idea. You're a magic user, and actually my example in here is going to be of a magic user, and you got your arm blown off, and you're going to become a Borg. Okay, I get the idea. I get the desire. In that aspect, would I say throw away the character? No, I'd want to play the character as well. With that said, I am generally against multi-classing in games. In class-based games. See, I like class-based games and skill-based games. I like them both. They serve a different function for me. Skill-based games are where I make the character that I want to make, how I want to make it, and get the skills that I want. Class-based games are where I'm playing a role, where I have an assigned role to me. It could be 100 OCCs in Rifts, but they still have an assigned role to them. I'm a fighter. I'm a fighter of a different type. I'm a fighter that focuses on this. I'm a fighter that focuses on that. I'm a fighter that's built a different way. Whatever. Okay, but you're still a fighter. So when I play a class-based game, I don't look to multi-class. I look to play my role. My character is there to play a role. You're wilderness scout, great. You're a ranger. You're out there and you're spotting things. You're surviving. You're ranging stuff out. You're being a good spot. Whatever. I don't ever have a desire like, it'd be fun if I could just be a wilderness scout mage. Wouldn't that be great? No, you pick the role of wilderness scout. Wilderness scouts do wilderness scout things. Mages do mage things. And so from my point of view, I think multi-classing is essentially dumb in a class-based game. I don't like it. Now, next year when we talk about Dungeons & Dragons, we're going to talk a lot about multi-classing and how demi-humans are meant to multi-class. Still, I guess maybe what I'm more saying is less about multi-classing for demi-humans in a game like that than I'm for dual classing for humans in D&D, if you guys remember those old rules. I'm just not... Outside of extraordinary circumstances, I'm against it. Now, with that said, extraordinary circumstance. So I have some notes here that... where is it? I do not know Palladium's rules for multiclassing. Now Timothy Farrelly up here says multiclass. It's non-existent when it's done. The entire character is wrecked. I don't know how the character is wrecked. We will check out maybe a couple of those replies, explain how they're wrecked. This is how I would handle multiclassing. Now, I was told this is actually how Kevin or the forums or somebody says it's supposed to be done. Well, then great minds think alike, because I literally do not know how the Palladium multiclassing rules are supposed to work. But this is how I would do it. So, this is how I'd handle a mage that loses body parts and needs to become a Borg. First of all, you stop leveling as a mage and become a level 0 Borg. Well, there's no level 0 in the game. Well, hold on that. At this point, you cannot learn new skills or proficiencies or improve current skills or proficiencies during the transition from level 0 to level 1 Borg. Basically, you're just learning how to use your new shit. Now, there's a little bit of a difference to that in a moment. At level 1 Borg is when you'll get the level 1 stuff. But hold on, you're level 0 now. You're basically just learning how to use your metal hand and to think differently and to act differently, okay? And not have the PPE that you had. And it takes you as long to get from level 1 or to level 0 to level 1 as it does from level 1 to level 2. So you just use the same experience. So was it 1,000, 2,000 XP? And then, okay, you're finally comfortable with being a Borg. So what do you get now that you're comfortable being a Borg as a level 1 Borg? I don't care if you're level 9 Leyline Walker. You're a level 1 Borg now. So starting at level 1 Borg, the character only receives the Borg's OCC skills, not OCC related or secondary skills, just the OCC skills basically that you're required to have to be a Borg. Again, I know chat is flying here. I will try to read some of it as I get to it. I cannot pay attention to that and this at the same time. I apologize. I wish Ethan Dog was here for this. I will get to super chats when I can. So you'll get the Borg. So add to your character sheet all the Borg OCCs. Got it? Starting at level 1, the Borg has the same number of weapon proficiencies as the Borg class allows. So I don't have a Rifts book in front of me, but let's just arbitrarily say that the Borg starts with 4 weapon proficiencies, the Mage starts with 2. Well, you get 2 more weapon proficiencies. Now, let's say you came from the Juice or the Crazy and you had 5 and the Borg only allows 4. Well, guess what? You don't get any more. You have the weapon proficiencies you have. You're stuck with them. Deal with it until you can, get a new secondary skill or something. All right. If this is more than his current number of weapon proficiencies, add new weapon proficiencies. If not, you have what you have, as I mentioned. Any skills or proficiencies the character already had as a mage are locked. until the character's Borg level matches the former mage level. So if you have a skill, I'm just making one up again. Let's say you have the wilderness survival skill. You had it as a mage and you have it as a Borg. Well, it is locked at its current percentage until you become a level 9 Borg. Well, level 10 technically, because you were a level 9 leyline walker, as I said earlier. So that skill is locked until you move up to the next level. Why? Because you've already had 9 levels worth of your 5%, 4%, 6%, whatever increases to it. You're not going to go back down to level 1 where experience points are minimal just to get more percentage points in there. No, it's locked. All right. Any skills and or proficiencies the character already has as a mage and which are not allowed by the Borg. So that first one is mentioned that I said were locked until level 9 or 10. Those are ones that were allowed by the Borg that you also had as mage. And these next sections are the ones that are not allowed by the Borg, but you did have as a mage, cannot be improved anymore. You have them at their max capability. So if you're 65% in something, you're going to stay 65% in that because the Borg doesn't allow you to improve it. Now, if you have it as a secondary skill or whatever, that's different. We're talking the OCC and OCC related. If the Borg is prohibited from having that as an OCC related skill, that means you can't have it. If it is not on the secondary skill list, means you cannot have it. Therefore, it is locked. You no longer get to procrastinate because you're not a magic user anymore. You're a Borg. Any new skills or proficiency the character learns as a Borg start at level 1 because you're a level 1 Borg. That's it. You're starting a new life. Now, if you feel that punishes multiclassing, I say, right. Multiclassing should be punished. There are hundreds of OCCs out there. I'm pretty sure one of them does what you want without trying to break the system. As for characters that suffer trauma or change, well, those occurrences are never net positives in life. Either retire and make a new character or tough it out and have epic exploits in spite of all the setbacks. And let me read the super chat. Also in the dual OCC rule, you start at level 0 and don't advance to level 1 until you gain enough XP to gain level 2 or 3, depending on the new OCC. Okay. So there's some people in here saying what the rules are for the multi-classing. I'll just put it on the screen. I'm not going to read them. I read them here. I'm not going to read them out loud. Another one. So anyway, yeah, Palladium is the best hybrid between a class-based game and a skill-based game, and that's both to its benefit and detriment. I don't think, it's not a purely class-based game. It has too many skills and too many skill selections that you can have for it, but it's definitely not a skill-based game either because it has defined OCCs. I don't have the answer. You run your table how you want. Okay? But ultimately, like I said, I'm generally against I'm against multiclassing in Palladium. Rules for multiclassing are found in Palladium Fantasy Adventures in the High Seas and also found in the errata page of the Palladium Books official website. I don't go to websites to find information. Okay, I do, but like this. But he makes a good point that you can find the real rules there, okay? Rules for multiclassing are printed mainly in the Fantasy Book 3 Adventures in the High Seas. Okay, I said that. The original OCC skills get frozen until the new skills match the old skills. I agree with that. I think that's what I said. Once this happened, duplicate skills and OCCs can grow with new skills of the new OCC. I think that's pretty much what I said. Cannot switch back and forth between classes. Once you change, you're stuck with it. That's a very old D&D rule. And see, that's the thing about class-based games that I think a lot of people miss out on. It's one of the reasons why I love Earth Dawn so much and how the disciplines really have a mindset that you must maintain, is that you're supposed to be playing a trope. You're supposed to be playing a mindset. You're supposed to be playing a particular role. I know in a way that said, well, my agency, or I want to play against type. Well, class-based games, you shouldn't be playing against type. You should be playing with type. Now, within that type, you have many, many, many infinite ways of playing within type. So, I don't know. Nobody out there is going to convince me that multiclassing isn't something that you need. just because you want it, just because, well, what if? Well, again, your game master at the table can make up the rules for the what ifs. And apparently there are enough rules out there as we're reading on the screen right here. So I'll leave that. There's another super chat. Playing rule number 1, the rules are a bit wonky. You'll probably need a house rule to fit your table. Remember, Palladium is a framework. And this is, if there's one thing I can drill into people, is that it's a framework. It's a framework for game masters to make rulings. It's just, there's enough there. Vehicle combat rules, there is enough there. If you're driving at a high speed, you get a -20. If you're driving at a moderate speed, you get a -10. Well, what if you're driving somewhere in between there? Do you use the 10 or the 20? Or do you assign a 15? That's up to you. Just be consistent. Don't stress about that crap. And if players are basing everything they do on the potential numbers, then they're not playing characters, they're playing character sheets. That's what a tactical war game is for. A role-playing game is for your character to react to situations the way a character would, and the game master puts on modifiers as the framework of the Palladium books provides. As somebody who's run a ton of Roadhogs many, many, many years ago, I can tell you that every rule in there got adjusted at some point. Right, I'm going to move on. Again, comments you guys are making, I am absolutely browsing through them. They're great comments. I just don't have the time to throw them all up on the screen. Obviously, I will do the super chats, but okay, what's next? Arnezes, how exactly actions that cost more than 1 are treated? Defenders break ties. That defenders break ties, attack has to roll over, which explain could be... Okay, let's start with this first one. I don't want there to be a specific rule in this. This goes back to the beginning of the video, where I talked about Heathen Dog and I run it differently. They're basically 3, and I know there's a 4th and a 5th. I just forget what they are off the top of my head. 3 common ways that this is done. The way I do it, which is it simply takes 2 actions, move on. Once you're out of actions, you know, if you do something, let's say you have 4 actions per round. You do something that takes 2 actions now, and on your next turn, you take something that all 4 of your actions are gone. Where Law Dog out there, he did something, he's got 5 actions, or he's got 4 actions per round, let's make it the same, and he does something that costs 1 action, then something that costs 2 actions, you're out of actions, he still has 2 more. For me, it's simple. It's just simple. Heathen Dog does, I think it's the cooldown. I forget if it's a cooldown or the warm-up, I forget. I don't know why, I don't remember, I should know, but I think he does the cooldown. So when you do something that takes 2 actions, when it comes to your turn again, the next phase, nope. Everybody acts again. Now you can go again. But, you know, how do you want to run it? It's a framework. It's a framework for you to run it the way you want. You know, when I was younger in the 90s and I was way more simulationist than I am now, yeah, that would frustrate me. But I actually think, you know, now that I'm older, I look at it as like, no, I like the idea that it tells you how many actions you have, it tells you how long a round is, and then everything else within there, you as the game master at the table, you determine what works for you. Just be consistent. As I say in my book, fair, reasonable, and consistent. A fair and reasonable game master is always consistent. So, the defenders break ties. Attacker has to roll over. Okay, I think this is a backward reading of it. I'm not. He's right. So you have action, reaction, right? Action, attack. I roll a 15. Reaction. We're gonna say no modifiers, whatever. Just gonna make life easy for the purposes of conversation here. I roll a 15 to hit. As a defender, you need a 15 or higher to prevent me from hitting you, whether it's dodging or parrying. The attacker isn't rolling over your number because the attacker rolls first. I get what you're saying, but the attacker rolls first. Yes, the defender breaks ties. It's just like playing baseball. Tie goes the defender. Tie goes the runner. Okay? I guess runner isn't the defender in that case. I don't know. I see the runner as a defender, but the tie goes the defender. You're 100% right. Tie goes the defender. Attacker attacks, defender has to equal or get above that. It's that simple. So I don't think that's confusing at all, because attacker should be rolling and then the defender roll. It's action, reaction. It's not reaction, action. That makes sense? So I don't know. I would have to actually pick up the rules. I'm talking about this based on experience, not by a strict reading of the rules. Maybe a strict reading of the rules is cumbersome. So I will leave that out there just in case. But yeah, I didn't have that. Beat Magnet, who I think is watching right now. Yeah, Lada, I don't like the AR threshold number, but that doesn't make it cumbersome. I just don't like it. So, also, I think the AR should be more of a target number than a back and forth. But I do get what you're saying. Yeah. I was thinking saving throw system for some things is cumbersome. How? I think it would make sense to use D100 roll for saving throws, as it provides a bigger range of pass-fail options. It's probably holdover from D&D. I don't think random Joe Blow NPCs should be able to shrug off magic and psionics with a simple D20 roll. I mean, they have to roll like a 16 or higher or something, though, don't they? It's funny you say that, Beat Magnet, because there's going to be comments in here later that want everything on a D20. So here's my thing. I like it on the D20, and here's why. For me, everything in Palladium that's D20 is basically combat. It's combat, action, combat, action. I'm doing things in actions, okay? So you're telling me with that saving throw on a D20 that it's something quick, it's something that's happened that you're resisting, it's something that's just in combat. It's like a parry, it's like a dodge, it's like an attack roll, it's like a roll to punch with fall, or roll with punch and fall. So it makes sense for it to be on the D20 for me. So I can't agree with you on that. Now, the part of Joe Blow's not saving or saving, how about this? Important NPCs roll saving throws. Player characters roll saving throws. Average Joe Blows automatically fail. I don't think that's an inappropriate rule. I mean, I'd make some caveats to that if I know that my players are just trying to mess with a town of farmers. Okay, maybe that goes too far. But there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what? Okay, from this point forward, Joe Blows, they just fail, or they have to roll 20s because you're a skilled person. So I wouldn't. I guess what I'm trying to say is I think game masters should feel empowered. I have a couple of negative comments written down. I'm avoiding them because I don't think this comment came from any place of negativity. Beat Magnet, he loves Palladium. I just think that game masters should feel empowered to make consistent rulings at their tables. And if the players are like, oh, this is cool, yeah, but with power, what's it? Power corrupts, right? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if they start, what happens if I try to brain foogle everybody in the town? Well, when everybody starts acting weird and you got Stepford Wives things going on here, people might start to investigate that. Now I require cover to dodge as well. Okay, I don't do all the hit penalties for ranges of movement if you cover and dodge. Hey, again, that's the framework that the game provided you. The framework. That's how you run with the framework. That's how you build the house around it, or the shed, or the garage, or the skyscraper around it. That's great. That's great. As long as the players are aware of that up front. Palladium is such a great framework. Okay, let's move on. Oh, I forgot to like. I don't find any of the rules cumbersome, just the way the book is laid out. However, be okay with dropping MDC and using STC in its place, and only using hit points for living beings. I'm okay with MDC. I mean, I think that there are some things that I can shoot with a gun that I'm just never going to hurt, especially in kind of a futuristic setting. So I don't have a problem with it. But I know that's actually kind of a common theme, is a lot of people don't like or understand MDC. Nukomatics says layout, which makes you jump all over the book to look up rules. So that's okay. This is my pedantry. This is the book being cumbersome, not the rules. But like I said, I realized that I really can't argue with that. For example, OCC, RCC skills percentage at character creation, get pilot power of 14. Why not just give the total percentage on the same page? This is actually something that I agree with. I don't feel it has to be there. Like, oh my God, game's broken without it. But man, it would make life a lot easier if I just saw the base percentages on the page with the OCC. That's like what do you got? That's a nice to have. That's I can't remember the term. It's used in UI UX, quality of life. It's a quality of life issue, but it's not a must-have. Pro Dave, I think the only rule I've had any kind of hang up with movement and combat. I've seen a few different interpretations. None of them really sit right with me. Well, then do the one that sits right with you. I've already talked about movement quite a bit, so I'm not going to dive into it again. But I would just say, just pick the one that works for you and your table. Yes, outside of handling of vehicle combat, primarily speed miles per hour, the movement rules are extremely vague and not in the GM consort. What? And not in the GM consort this, and we want you to have freedom, but vague as in vague. I didn't find them vague at all. Clumsy no matter how you handle it. I've had people argue about how I do my movement rules, but I've never had anybody. Yeah, I mean, again, I know people do it by actions. Law Dog, posted how he does his. I've never had anybody say that we can't figure it out. We just figured it out our own way and hope that it was right. Well, here's the thing. What's right? Right is within the spirit. So I'm definitely a spirit of the law over a letter of the law type person. Right is what's within the spirit. And as long as you're moving your maximum per round and using your actions, however those mix and match together at your table is your business. Pick a solution and go. Fully agree with you. In all the decades, I've never found a way to handle in-combat movement in a way that felt both consistent and right. I wonder if you're overthinking this. Palladium's a cinematic system. What would superheroes do? What would crazy juicers do? Even Palladium Fantasy, if you look at some of the things like the Longbowman, which is a class I played, or I've also played a Ranger, can do. Some of that is kind of epic, we'll just say, beyond the normal, the skill of a normal person. So, we just sort of winged it and let it slide. I think that's the right answer. And I don't know why that's a problem. Now, if you show me in I wouldn't say the math, if you show me in the rules, okay, specifically this doesn't work, or how do you resolve this problem? Okay, we've talked about a couple of them earlier. I'm not going to repeat myself, so you can watch the more beginning of the video. I think those are easy to resolve. There really is no reasonable means as There's no reasonable means as yes. You get a data point of distance you can cover per melee round, but how does it interact with melee attacks per round or shooting? See, you're okay, yes, you're definitely overthinking it. Okay. Just have a consistent rule. Don't worry about it. If my table runs differently than your table, that's okay. If one of your players wants it a certain way and another player wants it a different way, well, you're the game master. You set the rules. That's your job. You set it up, and I'm saying this. I'm definitely not ranting. I'm saying that, like, don't overthink it. Read it, understand it, see how it fits with the rest of the rules, and then make the ruling that works for you. Do you think that every action or a certain amount of movement should be an action? Then do it. Maybe you allow 2 actions at one time. You know what? You can move 100 feet per round, so you have 5 actions. That's 20 feet per turn, or per phase. The word phase has popped up a lot in the forums. Per action or per phase. Okay, if you move 20 feet or less, I will let you also perform a punch, a shot, or something else. Maybe you say that. I'm not saying that's the right rule. Maybe you do. Or maybe you say, okay, you move the 20 feet. Next time you come around, you can either move another 20 or you can punch somebody. I personally believe that people can walk and chew gum at the same time. So I usually allow duplicate actions. I just don't allow actions that require focus in that regard. I know. Look, I've been trained. I can walk forward and fire an M16 and keep it on target. Now, could I make a called shot to somebody's hand? I don't know. So I wouldn't allow a called shot, but I would let you walk forward, your movement as an action if you want to have it count as an action and shoot. At the same time, I'm not going to worry about such a simulation that if my players weren't understanding that, if they're like, no, hold on, I got an action, I got not action. Okay, you know what? Let's do it the Pathfinder way. You do this action, you're done. You moved? Okay, you moved. Now we're going to the next person. Oh, now we're coming back. Okay, now you can shoot. I don't care. Do it how you want at your table. So, Palladium is for RPG hippies who go with the flow. Okay, there you go. Hold on, I'm trying to I just want to make sure I'm reading most of the comments here. Sorry if I'm missing stuff. All right, let's always loved the Palladium games and even made the game system work really well, but there's specific points where it gets hung up. Movement and combat is one of them. This has led me to operate combat on a narrative method versus hard action economy. But good. No, yes. Sir, you have just won. That's yes. Kevin uses I don't know if he calls it a cinematic game, but Kevin uses the word cinematic a lot if you watch any of our conversations with him. I hate the word interview because I don't like it sound. Cat, I'm talking here. So yes, absolutely. Yes. That's all I can say is yes, you've got it. As the game system, Palladium games operate better on a narrative-controlled combat route versus any hard rule methodology. This is the quote of the day so far. My God, my mouse is breaking. This is right. This is right. Can I zoom in on this even more? Oh no, it jumped around. There it is. This is so right. Thank you. And once people can get over that or understand that, get over the fact that it doesn't have to be all the ones and zeros. Again, I always bust on Pathfinder's balls because that's too many. That's too encyclopedic for me. This is right. The data points given, such as melee attacks per round, kind of shooting per round, aim shot versus burst. The game wants narrative as its guiding light, not the rules. Boom. Hard stop like D&D with somewhat action economy, or Pathfinder tweet with hard action economy. Dude, you are in my brain right now. Yes. Some of this is because Palladium combat is reactive, which means characters act outside their turn in response to things such as dodge, parry. Is this Sean? Sean, is this you responding? I'm just saying, because Sean and I talked about that. You are spot on. Meaty bits. You are spot on. Everything you've said is right outside of worrying about the vagueness. Go with it. Just go with it. You're on it. You got it. Keep doing it. That is what I would say the right way to play. Can you give me an example of vagueness? Apparently, I don't even remember making this response. I think I have an answer for you, but I want to make sure. Great is written in the rule books. Okay, so Full Metal Dragon, longtime supporter of Legion of Myth. Are no rules for movement and combat. I don't want. And by the way, I'm aware of the rules in combat. They're coming with TMNT. I don't want them. I'd be honest with you, I do not want them. I know a lot of people, I know I'm in the minority. I know actually most people do. I don't want them. I think the system, the way I run it, works fine. Now, while I can still do that, but now there's going to be an argument point for the players being, no, it says here. Ugh. Which sucks, but I get it. Most people did want it, so I'm not going to, say any more on that. The only movement rules in the game is based on your speed attribute. It tells you how fast you can go. Yep. It says how much total you could possibly move a combat round, but nowhere does it say that if moving uses any melee attack actions. Say, man, this third time this has come up, right? So obviously this is issue for a lot of people. I don't think it needs to be. But he says it's a glitter size gaping hole in the game design. I don't agree with that. But again, it sounds like I'm in the minority on this one. So, okay. It's kind of hard to point out something that isn't in print anymore. Isn't in print anymore. Well, my experience of Palladium 20 years to date, so I picked up PDF Rift Ultimate Edition to confirm. A good example of vague regards to movement is describing speed as per melee attack action. Wait, does it? Without specifying movement is an action. Does it actually put... Oh, this is interesting. Everything that I've read shows speed is per round, not per action. To be fair, Rifts isn't my jam. But is it an action or not? Nothing talks about positional movement costing its own action. Look, to me, if you're diving to the... I'm not angry. It's just frustrating for me when people want... This is not about meaty bits. This is about everybody. Want those so hardcore specified rules an action and dive to the ground? It's up to you. It's up to your game master. Do you think that if you have 5 actions per round and it's a 15-second round, that would take you a full 3 seconds to get to the ground? I mean, that's a way to look at it. I'm not even saying that's the right way to look at it. I'm just saying that's a way to look at it. It's up to you. I don't think there has to be rules for that stuff. I just don't. Yeah, to be fair, 20 years ago, as he was talking 20 years ago, was what, 2004? I wasn't doing much Palladium then. Definitely in the 90s. I probably had the same hangout. But now, yeah, I'm gonna stop beating this dead horse. You guys know how I feel about this. First edition risk still not defined. Here's something here. This, by the way, I'm only mentioning this because it's posted here. This is not about meaty bits at all. One of the things that I understand why people do it, but other people have to stop acting like it's law. Well, Palladium, so let's just say you're running a Heroes Unlimited game. Oh, the rule for what you're looking for is in Rifts. I'm not playing Rifts. Oh, but it's still the same universe. No. Yeah, I just said no. Just because the rule is in Rifts doesn't mean I'm going to incorporate that into my Heroes Unlimited game. Just because it's in Palladium Fantasy doesn't mean I'm going to incorporate it into my Heroes Unlimited game. Now, could there be a clarification that makes sense? Yes. I'm not saying never refer to it, but a Rifts rule is a Rifts rule. A Ninjas and Super Spies rule is a Ninja Super Spies rule. Can you bring all those martial arts over into Rifts? You can, but you can also say no, and I'm not giving you circular parry. Okay? That's the thing. I'm going to stick with the book that I've got. Now, if Beyond the Supernatural really gives a good clarification of something that we're having a problem with, okay, no harm, no foul in saying, hey, this is how Beyond the Supernatural handles it, but that doesn't make it the right rule. The right rule is the one that's written in the Rifts book. The right rule is the one written in the Afterbound book, whatever game you're running. The right rule for Beyond the Supernatural is the one written into the Beyond the Supernatural book. So while there might be some clarifications out there, they may, oh, so this is what they meant because Rifts clarified. You might actually look at it and be like, oh, wait, hold on. That doesn't fully sync up. Because there's some stuff in Ninjas and Super Spies I would never allow in other games, ever. Certainly not going to allow it in Palladium Fantasy. So just because it says that Ninja Super Spies, a game based on ninja tropes. So, no. All right. So I'm not going to read any more of this. It's mostly just continuing out the movement stuff. Meaty bits, again, make good points. I think you got it. Speed times 20 is the number of yards, meters per minute. Rift's main book page. Oh, per minute. Okay. And then you just divide that by 4 for a melee round. Yeah, speed times 5. Yeah, okay. Cool. Let's move on. This, oh God, are we almost done with? Okay, actually, we only got a couple comments left. Good. Yeah, the multiple strength classes are cumbersome. You know what, Beat Magnet? I have to kind of agree with you on this one. They're really not cumbersome and they make sense, but I get it. Wait a minute. Robot strength versus supernatural strength. I've actually said it before. How about just say that your strength is 40 instead of saying that it's 20 then? Just give robots plus 20 strength or give supernatural creatures plus 50 strength, whatever. So I am, yeah, okay, regular strength versus robot strength versus augmented strength versus supernatural strength is confusing to some players and requires some explanation by the GM. Now, I don't, you know what? No, I'll go with you on this one. I don't want to use the word cumbersome. I want to use the word unnecessary, but I'll go with it because it's unnecessary because it could be cumbersome. I just think that those creatures, instead of having this whole different category, should just have a plus 50 or whatever number. I mean, just throwing numbers out the top of my butt here, right? Plus 10 to plus 20, plus 30, plus 40, whatever, to the strength attribute and go with that. Yes. Yes. Now, with that said, do I hate it? No. It's part of the game. I'm used to it. I played enough, with all those different strengths. But and this is where the Palladium character sheet shines. I know people complain that it takes forever to make a Palladium character. Well, if you have something like this written on your character sheet, oh, I have robot strength, and because of robot strength, I do maybe a mega damage punch, or I can lift 10 times more instead of, or 20 times more instead of 10 times more, whatever. That's where the character sheet really, really, really shines. I love how long it makes to make a Palladium character. Because of that, I have everything right there in front of me. So with that in mind, I don't think it's cumbersome. Outside of that, especially if it's quick and dirty and you're just trying to think about the next thing you're going to do, or is it necessary? Yeah, that's probably one of the little areas that it's just unnecessary, but it doesn't break the game, and it's not something that's used every second. So character sheets like 30 pages on Google Docs. Yeah, I get it. I use notebooks, man. I use notebooks. So anyway, hey, apparently Streamlabs is working again. Okay. And then Michael Mammoth, inconsistent application of racist OC. This is weird. I'm guessing what you mean, because I think Michael's in chat. Michael, I know you've been posting a couple things. If you're still there, sorry, I have not been able to read everything. So this is what I'm asking about. Are you looking for balance? Is that what you're looking for? Because if you are, you're probably not going to like my response. Otherwise, what is it that you mean by inconsistent application of races, RCCs, OCCs? So I'll stand by it because I see that you just commented recently. So, yeah, yes, just strength, please. Yeah, I like when people agree with me. Not everybody does, and you don't have to, by the way. Neil G. Riff's book, Psychic Classes were RCCs and the Ultimate Decay. Yeah, somebody I think put on the dated side, somebody complained about that OCCs became RCCs or whatever. We'll get that in the next video. Quick version is I don't care. Like I don't care. Okay, here we go. In defense of supernatural strength, it works entirely differently than normal strength. Damage is set entirely differently. No, I good point, Michael, but I'm just saying, does it have to be that way? Could it not just be, hey, maybe after a 30 threshold, you use different math? Because if you think about it, what is it, at 16, like once your strength is 16 or 17, different math is used? They could just do that at 30 or whatever number, right? But can you do me a favor? I don't know how much delay is here. You may have been typing that as well. Can you... this inconsistent application of races, RCCs, and PCCs, can you clarify what you meant by that so I can respond to that? Because this is the last one, then we'll set up for the next video. Seriously, I'm scrolling through them now. Lots of great comments in there. I wish I could save the comments that you guys made like I do for a live stream after the fact, but I can't, because I think people reading these comments after the fact, it would be great. But once I highlight it on Twitch and bring it over, these comments will be lost. So just give them some time to type here, and then we're going to move on to the next. Yeah, something like that. And again, this doesn't have to be an exact rule, but yeah, something like that. And then say that maybe once you're past a 40 strength, you automatically do mega damage or something, Okay, not balanced. Just sometimes races. Okay, let's put this on the screen. There we go. Oops, put that one right there. So he says, not balanced. Just sometimes races are races. Other times they're RCCs. Other times they're races and OCs. Okay. You may have been the one that made the comment that we'll talk about with dated then. And I'm not sure if it was you or not. I didn't pay attention to the names. I personally have not run into this where it's a situation, so I don't know how this necessarily makes things cumbersome. But I will say that consistency is always king. So look, I cannot agree. I also cannot disagree with you because I just haven't run into it in the same manner that you have. But this might be great for a follow-up comment or question when the video goes live, which will probably be on Tuesday. I guess is Tuesday. Yeah, because it's the first one. Probably Tuesday. If you want to make a clarifying comment there, because you probably have a really good point. I see everything as a class, whether it's racial class, occupational character class, psychic class, whatever, it's a class. And I just play, personally, I just play to the role of that class. But I know that there's a comment on the next one. It may have been yours, may not have been yours, that I'm going to address a bit deeper. So, and this will be the last comment that I put on the screen. And then we're going to end this one. And the next video will be on what's dated. So what Polyrobotics says, RCCs are limited to the species, but OCCs are generally for everyone. Right. And let me, good discussion. I didn't rant. I don't think I ranted. Not like I was scared I might. But we'll, yeah, sorry, I'm still reading some of the comments here. Please like, subscribe, share if you like this discussion. The two we're doing today are on this cumbersome one, and then which ones are dated. I have another two. That one popped today for the live streamers. Popped today. What lore is dated? And I'm just gonna be upfront. If you're one of those weirdos that's gonna cry about Africa and Australia, be prepared to be embarrassed. Because I take your nonsense and shove it up your pie hole. There's nothing wrong with the Africa book in terms of representation. You're an idiot. How we go over that one, and then the question that pops next week is, if there's one rule and only one, and I'm going to tell you this right now, I'm going to flag and delete any comment that puts more than one in there. But if there's any one rule that you could change in Palladium, what would it be? But that'll pop next week, so you can read it with more clarifying words. But yep, if you do more than one, can't follow simple instruction, I'm just gonna delete it. Yeah. So, all right. With that, I hope you like this. Next is going to be what about Palladium is dated, and I cannot wait to talk to you then.